And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Matthew Pearson. Matthew, hey man, thanks for spending some time with me today.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. It's going to be a fun conversation. Matthew is a thought leader, soon to be author, and he helps business owners, um, as we put it, really intentionally design your company to improve performance.
That's right.
Now
Yep.
that's a big statement. So we're gonna dive deep into that and really help our audience understand what do you mean by that and how can we start taking some steps in that direction, because it really does make a difference on not only the bottom line but in culture and how we do what we do. So as we start going into that world, Matthew, tell me, I mean, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, it's a great question because I was, to a degree, almost pushed into it through the course of just my own career progression. It wasn't something that I intended. We talked about intent. It wasn't
Yeah.
something that I intended to focus on. I started my career actually in executive operations and management in the small business world. Really saw there how a high performing teams work and also places maybe along the way in different stops where things didn't work. I've also been an investment banker with sell side, lower middle market businesses, and I've been on the buy side with private equity backed portfolio companies. So I talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of companies over the course of my 20, almost 25-year career. And I've seen what good looks like and I've seen what bad looks like. Along the way, I was in an interview and someone asked me, hey, how would you kind of keep culture consistent in this company? And at the time, there were maybe 500 or 600 employees, but they were distributed. They were in 4 different offices in 3 different states.
Hmm.
And my answer around how I would do that, the recruiter said, that's probably the most unique answer I've been given. You should do something with that. And I kind
Hmm.
of went, oh, okay. Well, that's just what I would do. That's how I did it when I was managing companies earlier in my career. Why is this so unique and so different? And really what came out of that, I started putting the pieces together, was kind of pushed into that. I then talked to different people. I stress tested it with colleagues that I respected, other CEOs. I went to publishers. Hey, is this something that you would even consider, promoting or publishing? And I was humbled with the response. A lot of people said to
Hmm.
me, you know what? I don't know if I've seen your concept described this way. And it's taken some time to develop. I've worked on this for about 7 years, if not because of life that comes across. But I'm excited that I've finally put it all together. I have a book that encapsulates all the concepts called The Culture of Alignment that I'm working to publish next year,
Hmm.
and excited about actually now promoting it and talking about it and getting this actioned by fellow executives and individuals as well.
That's awesome. I love that story because, and we're not here to talk about what I'm getting ready to say, but it really addresses the, dare I say, the myth of the overnight success.
Right.
Because when your book comes out and everything, they're all like, "Wow, you're just like you just start." No, I've been working on this for 7 years,
Yeah, I've
right?
been working on it for a while. Exactly. It took some time to really put together in a meaningful and digestible way
Yeah.
so that it could be actionable. And the key here that I've tried to approach, unlike most business books that I've read, which is an amalgamate. And this is actually why, if we get into the heart of kind of culture and what I saw, a lot of business books almost teach you to copy. Hey, we talked to 500 CEOs. We surveyed 1,000 companies. And here are the overwhelming aggregated findings from those discussions. And that's a problem. And when you look at culture, you can't copy what someone else did, right?
Hmm.
And we've common size culture. We've said, hey, you're a best places to win company.
Yeah.
And these are the attributes that made you a best place to win. And that may have worked for that company. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you as an individual employee. It doesn't mean it's going to work for your company. We talk about intentionally designing a company.
Yes.
Culture needs to be intentionally designed. What do you think is the best culture for your company as an executive? And a lot of people aren't really fully aware of the constructs that create the desired culture. And that's where culture drift occurs. That's where culture problems occur. That's where you have problems with staff retention and slow growth. So I wanted to make this really clear and digestible, but also actionable. Let's take this and write it down and figure it out and go implement success today, as opposed to just common sizing what someone else did.
Yeah, that's very good because yeah, so many books have been written that way, and we try to adopt or to it, and instead of just taking the ideas and adapting for our company. And I love
Right.
what you say culture, because I think a lot of business owners forget culture, or they don't think about it, or they think it's just going to happen, and that's not really the case because you do have to be intentional. So unpack this a little bit more.
Sure. So the problem right now, first off, one of my favorite sayings: new employees don't start their first day disgruntled. Have you ever seen that happen? Amazing. How amazing would it be if you saw some guy walking down the hallway all upset? No, that everyone comes in excited. Hey, I'm going to change the world. This is my new job. We're just over enthused with our new position. Research will tell you almost 50% of new hires quit in the first 18 months.
Wow.
And then you step back and you say, well, wait a second, how does that happen? How does that disconnect occur? Especially when new hiring managers, have you ever been to an interview and the hiring person said this culture's terrible?
Yeah.
No one has said that. Everyone thinks they have the best culture in the world, right?
Right.
So
That's
you've
right.
got really over enthusiastic employees, and you have hiring managers who think their culture is the best, but it's obviously not working, right? That common sized approach, that best places to work, we'll just copy what they did,
Yeah.
has really become a one-way conversation. It's basically saying, hey, Michael, you can work here. And you kind of need to chameleon yourself into our way of doing because we're a best place to work. And if it doesn't work for you, that's a scarlet letter on Michael. And I fight that a lot. I say, listen, that's not fair because
Right.
most companies actually just misconstrue what culture is. They've almost let other people, other employees determine what culture is. So what is good culture, right? How does that work? Good culture is very simple to me. It is the alignment between the individual's way of doing, right? And all their thoughts, their beliefs, their ethics, their approaches, how they like to do work with the company's way of doing. Now, you might say, well, wait a second. There's 1,000 employees, there's 10,000, 100,000 employees. How do I take all of those unique partialities and put them into a place where they can all coalesce, they all get along, right? Well, if you're inside that box, right, and you all have a common way of doing and you
Mhm.
agree, then you love it. It's a great culture. And if you're
Right.
outside that box, which I call the square, hence the name, the square management system, which I've put together in the book, um, you need to know how to identify that. It is not binary. It's a box for a reason. The employees are able to bounce around inside this box. What is the box? That's your degree of independence. It is the known degree
Okay.
of ability to action your own ideas. And if you went to a new job, you could have an unlimited choices that you could make, right? But you
Right.
don't. Your independence is constrained because you have to meet regulatory and compliance factors, and all these things come into play to prevent you from just being on your own. Imagine again if you had 1,000 employees on their own, that'd be chaos. So the intent around how culture results is the construct of that box. The
Mm.
degree of constrained independence, the degree which an employee can action their own ideas, is effectively how you create the culture that you desire for your company. And some people like a wide box. They want all kinds of freedom to innovate and ideate and action and make all kinds of micro decisions. Other people don't want that. They want a really what I would call a heavy degree of constraint because they would prefer to execute. You
Right.
cannot put a high degree of constraint environment in a loose environment or vice versa. They'll both suffocate. There'll be too many problems there. So understanding as an employee, the unique partialities that make up your preferred working environment, and as an executive listening, if you want to then understand how to construct this to your own way of doing, your preferred way of doing, that's what's going to give you the culture that you want.
Mm.
But you have to put the box together the right way.
Yeah, that's really good. And I presume when you say it's intentional, you're really talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the business owner, the board perspective, saying this is our company, and here's the culture that's going to work well for us, so that as I'm going out to recruit people, I should be able to communicate to them to go, hey, we are a wild and crazy bunch of people and stuff. And if that's not you, Matthew, this probably is not going to be a great fit. And doing that on the front end, is that, am I on that
You
or did I miss
you
something?
you've absolutely nailed it because the
Okay.
key
Okay.
person in this entire thing is the hiring manager, at least for new people coming in. And there's a lot of ways you can use this. So how do you construct that? What is that? What is that degree of constrained independence? How do you make up that box? Um, the box is four sides. It
Okay.
is the four eyes of constrained independence. Identity, that's who you are as a company. That is how you define yourself. Mission, values, brand, personality, core beliefs. The key question here, do our staff, do our customers know who we are and what we stand for?
Okay.
The biggest problem there is drift, right? You get product mission drift, you get cultural misalignment. Look at what's going on with Cracker Barrel right
Yeah.
now. They changed their logo and everyone's upset, right? They might not have communicated their brand identity properly, or they didn't weren't aware how strong their brand identity was tied to,
Yes.
right? The second piece is instruction. That is the clarity and consistency of expectation. It's onboarding, it's training, it's knowledge transfer. The key question here are the roles, the expectations, are our processes clear and scalable, right?
Mm,
Sometimes if you don't answer those questions right, then who answers that question? The employees. And then you
right.
get varying degrees of performance across divisions or teams because they've set their own standard. And that's where you get a lot of culture problems.
Yeah.
Next is intercommunication. This is how you interact. This is what most people I think would tell you is culture. It's not just the ping pong table and the happy hour beers. This is how you interact. It's your hierarchy. Are you a flat system? Or are you a structured system? Are you siloed or are you common sized? It's meeting cadence. It's communication tools. It's tone, right? Some companies are very sarcastic. Some are very professional and
Right.
precise. So the key thing though is with intercommunication is information flow. Is information flowing in a way that drives clarity and trust? Where you go sideways here at times, the front line is not on the same page as the executives. And you can see that at times in organizations. So the elements here will help you put together the right information flow. And last is what ties this all together, information feedback. This is how performance is measured, not just for the company, but for the individuals, for both people. And we oftentimes, I think companies do a great job of measuring employees. They don't measure themselves as well. But the key question is, are we learning fast enough to adapt to our competitive environment? And that's often where companies go awry. Those four sides each have 10 elements. They don't have to be the same. In the book, which you can look at on my website, townsquare-advisors.com, you can actually take the survey and all 40 points and learn the degree of constraint for each element so that you can walk through, again, designed to be intentionally and actionable, and go, okay, there are 10 elements in identity. What do I do here? How do I apply this? What are the elements? What does it look like? And you can fully understand how to deploy those elements to create the company that you prefer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good overview there. And I'm going to recommend people do two things. Number one, stop and rewind about 5 minutes and just re-listen to what Matthew just said, and then go to his website. We'll have that in the show notes, and take that quiz, because so many times you're writing books, man. We just read books and we're like, oh, that was a good book, and we put it on the shelf.
Right.
Versus going, maybe I should dive in just a little bit and maybe get my team around this survey to say, hey guys, gals, let's dive in and figure this thing out, because something's not working right, or maybe we're doing better than we thought, but there's always room for improvement, right?
That's right. This is a great diagnostic, and that's what it's intended to be for. This is supposed to be actionable. The book is not long. I didn't want to kill anything with a lot of research. It's a philosophical approach to how do you construct a business, and it actually has the survey in there where you can actually pick your answers. Imagine if you took the survey and you gave it to your executive team, your senior, your middle, and your frontline workers.
Mm-hmm.
You will immediately get a score for four sides, and an aggregate score, and you're going to immediately tell the differences between all four sides by that management layer. You will then know where you have a misalignment in your office, and then you can go remedy that. If you're a founder and you've got great IP, but you're like, I don't know how to build a business, I've never done this before, you can take the survey and actually start to pick the elements that you want with your executive team and say, hey, this is what we want to be as a business. Let's build the four sides together, and
Right.
this is what we're going to go action. It's going to help you build that company. The other key part, because there's a quiz for executives, but there's also a quiz for individuals. And
Hmm.
a lot of people don't understand their own working partialities well enough. They kind of, again, chameleon themselves to fit. If you as a person, because culture is a symbiotic relationship, as I described, you as a person need to take the test and go, hey, where am I my best self? Where do I work the best? What do I need? Because I, for example, don't want to work in an open office environment. I like a closed office. Some
Yeah.
people love open environments. And so it sounds so simple, but when you take the 40 elements in aggregate, those things add up to a great place or a really tough place to work, depending on who
Yeah.
you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you get stuck in the wrong place, in the wrong kind of a box as an employee, you're going to atrophy. It's
Right.
going to be, I mean, I was in prison for 2 years. Prison meaning a job I hated,
That's
right?
right.
And ministry I loved, but I was in the wrong spot. And it actually got me to leave the company after a couple of years and start my business. But it was just a bad fit. And
Right.
we were not aligned with who Michael was. How
Correct.
can Michael bring his A game every day?
Exactly. You're not, I don't believe they're bad employees. Don't get me wrong. That's fraud and,
Right,
that
right, right.
misstep.
Yeah.
There's no bad employees and there's no bad culture. Some people love the Wall Street alpha environment. They love it. They want it. They feed off that. Other people are like, I'm going to step far away from that as possible, but that doesn't mean that either party is wrong. And we
Right.
have to stop blaming.
Yeah.
It's around fit.
Yeah.
You are just not in the environment that's best for you. And let's go find that. And then
Yeah.
as an employees, let's know that you maybe shouldn't take that job. And
Yeah.
sometimes people have to take a job. And I get it. You're in a
Yeah.
circumstance, you have to support your family, you have to pay your mortgage, you got to take the job. I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're in a place where you have the benefit of choice, the luxury of choice, let's be more intentional about where we go work to put ourselves up for success because you don't want to be, as you said, you don't want to be in prison for 2 years. This is a hard place to be.
That was a hard place to be, yeah. And what you were just saying there is go, and I forget even who did it, Venice or something like that. The bus and the seats on the bus and putting the right people in the right seats on the right bus and all of that. That's a great concept. But
Right.
what you're doing is helping us to say, okay, we're going to build the bus and we're going
Right.
to help you, but you've got tangible, practical exercises and questions and surveys that take that concept to a whole different level.
Exactly. I think in isolation, these elements are relatively rudimentary
Yeah.
and they're somewhat simple. And in fact, that's intentional. This is not hard to digest, but I also did that on purpose. I want this to be actionable because I need people to realize that the successful, high trust, high performing teams are the output of this construct. Why is that? Let's go back to the box. What happens when you have everyone inside the box? That box is not binary. It's intentionally, again, to your specification, there's a degree of vagueness there. Why does that matter? When you let people work inside that box, they can innovate on their own. And they don't have a fear of innovating because they know they're kind of playing within known parameters. They can make micro decisions. Everyone loves feeling like they're part of the output, that they've actually influenced the direction of the company. So you need to give them a degree of independence around micro decisions. When they can make micro decisions, they actually move faster because they don't have to sit there and go, "Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this?" They just know what to do and they can move and they can action. So you're gonna have a faster moving team. When everyone is moving inside the same box and everyone knows everyone else is inside the same box, you've got trust. And when you have trust, you have a happier environment and you have a loyal team that kind of all knows they're swimming in the same lane. So you're getting micro decisions, you're getting information, innovation, you're getting creativity, you're getting empowerment, and you're getting excitement around the role. And that's what creates a high trust, high performing organization. But those systems, those processes facilitate that. And that's what everyone misses. You got to have those systems and processes in place to then facilitate all those attributes.
That's right. And that takes intentionality. And that's
Right.
what we started this whole thing with. And that's why you're creating your book. That's why you've created this survey that's available for people to take. So let's just
Right.
I think you and I could probably dive deep and talk about lots of things, but I think I just want to put a bow on it now and say the next step really is maybe re-listen to this because there's a lot of good concepts here, but then go to your website. So talk to people. Where should they go to get this survey that you talked about, and who should go there, and then where should they go?
Yeah, that's two great points. Townsquare-advisors.com is the website. And there's a few things there. One, you can sign up for an advanced copy of the book, The Culture of Alignment, that really details this in more granularity. There's also two free quizzes, one for an individual if you're just like, I need to better understand myself. And the people I've had take this kind of go, I never really thought about it that way. I didn't really know that about me. It's only 10 questions, but it's going to give you an output. You can also take the free quiz as an executive and go, hey, I'm suffering here from what I think is a churn problem with staff, or we're not growing anymore. We seem to be stuck. Why am I stuck? Let me just think differently about how I want to run the company. You can take the free quiz. If you
Okay.
want to dive into all 40 points and go through all the elements, you can also, there's a link there to the full square management system, and it'll go element by element, and you can answer the questions, and it'll help you understand how you should actually action and build your own company. And you can do that through the link online as well. So everything is available there on townsquare-advisors.com, right on the front page. You can learn about all the attributes and the benefits. The book is going to give you a little bit more granularity around those specific points, but you can get started online. And both parties can do this. An executive can do this, and an individual can do it. And they both should, because it's really going to teach you more about you and your company.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to grab those links, and we're going to have those in the show notes so people can go there and dive in. Because yeah, leading a business intentional, that's a great word, and Matthew's trying to help you to intentionally design your company to
Right.
improve performance. Because when you've got a leadership team and employees, team members who are aligned and going in the right direction and are empowered, you're going to get better performance. They're going to communicate with your clients, your prospects much better, and everybody's going to be on the same page. And that's just how you develop a high performance team. So,
That's right.
wow, Matthew, thank you. Thanks for being my guest. Thanks for putting this all together and providing that survey. And we'll grab all of that. We'll put it in the show notes so people can reach out and connect with you, and hopefully have a more high performing culture because they are intentional. Love that word. Thanks for
Yep.
bringing that Thanks for being my
Th-
guest on
Thanks for
Expert
having me.
Speak, man. You're welcome,
Really
man.
appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Expert Speak. Tune in again next week for another great episode. Take care. God bless.